I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name is Lori Spot. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you were in the live chat, we do ask to keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform we're utilizing today. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, so you know when we go live. Hope you guys are all doing well. Like I said, this is going to be a follow-up to last night's show. If you haven't already watched last night's broadcast with Big John, I would suggest you go over there and watch that show. So when I first met Big John, and we had our many discussions, and I think even when he came with us live for the first time, he talked about how when he was joining the military, okay, they had asked him about his belief in Christ, and that always stuck with me because it kind of made sense, in a strange sort of way. The military giving, the military is essentially feeding the beast system by providing it with a nonstop blood sacrifices. So for somebody to have belief in Christ would mean, that they may have a problem with feeding that beast system. So it kind of made sense to me. And then when I ran across this video, and this is what the guy says. This is the Lieutenant Colonel Greg Renrich, and he says, prior to being allowed to work in base S4 and S20, he was required to sign a document that stated that he could not use the word Jesus Christ while in these underground bases. He stated that 25-foot tall nephilium giants were working in these underground tunnels, and if the word Jesus Christ around these entities, that they would suffer tremendous torture and pain. These new film. Okay, so he has a thing that we're gonna actually listen to. So he even stated. Now I asked John where S4 and S20 was. Forgot what he said to me. Hold on a minute. Let me ask him, or let me look where he was. S4 is in Nevada, and he believes S20 is under Wright-Patterson. And this kind of goes along with what Phil Schneider has talked about in Dulles Air Force Base in New Mexico, talking about seeing these creatures in the underground base there as well. And also it goes along with people that have been abducted by creatures and stuff, rebuking them in the name of Jesus and being let go. So yeah. So we're just going to do a follow-up to that, and let's get this up on the screen. I have not listened to this yet, by the way, but here's where it says about the required to sign the document that they won't use Jesus Christ in the underground bases. So let's take a listen.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent, taking care of yourselves. Today I want to talk about the intergalactic war, apparently, that the nephilium, or the Nephilim, however you want to call them, states that they are waging against God. Now, I know that sounds kind of ridiculous to say an intergalactic war with God. It'd have to be like an interdimensional war, but that's the wording that has been used. And I'll tell you all about it. So, apparently, there's an individual named Lieutenant Colonel Greg Renrich. He's from South Carolina, and he states that he worked at S4, which is one of the bases that's right next to Area 51. It's part of that Papoose Lake area. And then there's S20, which is a different location. But they all deal with working with extraterrestrials, side by side, working with the scientists, working with other individuals. Now, I haven't heard this from any other whistleblowers, not Randy Kramer, who's part of the military, the Mars Military Defense Force, not Emery Smith, who's done lab work on 3,000 different alien bodies, not anyone else that's been part of the secret space program. However, this guy has a few individuals who have done research into him and have found that his story seems to be legit. So what happens is that these individuals have looked into this guy. So Lieutenant Colonel Greg Renrich worked in these bases with 25-foot tall Nephilim, we'll call them. I like to call them Nephilium, but they're Nephilim. And he states that they told him that they were fallen angels, not just aliens, extraterrestrials, but he states that these guys actually told him that they were fallen angels and they are going to wage a battle with God and that they are going to win. That it's not a question, but it's a fact that they are going to win. And he said they were the enemy of God when he was down there. So he didn't really believe them. He's like, okay, whatever. But he said, but what really convinced him was the fact that the government had him sign. This is his statement. The government had him sign documentation stating that he would never use the word Jesus Christ, whether he was swearing, whether it was a cuss word, or whether he was just in general conversation about religion with somebody, that he would never use the word Jesus Christ because it would make these beings shudder, be in agonizing pain, be in fear, and that you could just never use this word in these underground military bases, these deep underground military bases, or what are called DUMBs for short. So he stated they convinced all the scientists that they were going to do this ultra galactic war with God. They were going to win. He stated they're very intelligent, but he said that the word Jesus Christ was not allowed. Now, I know the listeners that are listening to my podcast, you may or may not be religious, and that is totally fine. I don't do the podcast, from any particular viewpoint. But when people say this, and then there's people who've done the research into this guy and backed it up, it makes you wonder, is this real? Is this something that's a legitimate thing? Now, here comes another story. There's an individual named Joe Jordan. Joe Jordan, like Michael Jordan, but just Joe Jordan. Okay. Now, he's a researcher that has researched thousands of cases regarding UFO abductions. And he states that when he's done this research and the individuals he's encountered, the ones who actually state Jesus Christ during the times of these abductions will actually block the abduction from happening. I don't know as if I 100% understand it, believe it. Who's to say? Because a lot of people believe that Jesus himself was actually an alien, that he could turn wine into water, that he could walk on water, or water into wine, I'm sorry, and he could walk on water, and he could heal individuals with debilitating pain, and he could actually bring people back from the dead, the Lazarus effect. And that would take, could be possible with certain types of technology that if he was an alien, he might have. So I guess at this point, you got to wonder, is it a fact that Jesus was the Son of Man, or was he an alien that is feared and has power through his words with these fallen angels? Is it only specific aliens that you can't say it around? For example, maybe maybe it won't have an effect on the Greys, but it has an effect on these Nephilim, or maybe it might not have an effect on the Nordics, but it might have an effect on Nephilim or the Draconians. There's not a lot of in-depth information there, but I'm going to try to get some more information from the Joe Jordan interviews as well. But this kind of leans it towards certain aliens, quote unquote, might actually be more just from another dimension that might be demonic, might be part of a dimension where God and Jesus have control. And when you invoke their name, that it has an effect on these particular individuals. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, hey, you have to say this, you have to do this. That's what I'm saying. The potential, the possibility is there. You can make up your own mind and your own decisions. But that's kind of like, what it sounds like to me. And from what I can gather from the small amount of information here, I've been trying to do a little bit of research on Joe Jordan and his research. But I think a lot of his stuff is going to be on YouTube or maybe through podcasts. I haven't found a book yet. I was hoping to find a book, but I haven't found one yet. So we'll see. I'll come across that. But I just wanted to bring this idea up, and I may do one other podcast about it. I know this is kind of short, but if we look at the history of like possessions, and we look at the history of stories of possessions and stories of exorcisms and things like that, the word Jesus, the idea of Jesus, the entity of Jesus being invoked seems to have a strong power wherever you go. And in the lightness of this particular entity, the light, the kindness, the peace that he seems to invoke around many people seems to possibly have enough power to battle some of these evil entities. Do I believe all entities these are, all these aliens are evil? No, I don't think so at all. But I think maybe, maybe it could be true. Who knows? There have been statements from the CIA itself in their own documents that state that there are interdimensional travelers who are interested in Earth, but they're not necessarily trying to influence Earth. Okay. So those are straight out of CIA documents, CIA reading room documents. You can go online, look at those. Um, but it doesn't say that they're evil. It doesn't say that they're pushing their will on us. Now we have to keep in mind too, the government's not always going to give us all the information that they have, right? That's going to be silly, especially if it's threatening information that could instigate riots and wars and panic and just overall upheaval of our entire life. So that's not usually the way things work. Um, but if they already said that there's interdimensional beings and interdimensional entities, then couldn't there be potential for them to use force? That's been talked about. That's been talked about in many different instances throughout hundreds of thousands of years that human beings have been on the planet. So it is interesting. I don't know if it's something that could work or would work, but it's a new portion of this particular UFO world that we live in. This alien, ufology interest that we all have. Wouldn't it be bizarre if there were fallen angels that are in a intergalactic battle with God or interdimensional battle with God? And if so, what are they doing working with the U.S. government? That seems bizarre. Why would the U.S. government be in cahoots with, quote unquote, the Nephilim or fallen angels? Are they actually evil? Are they actually fallen angels? Wouldn't it be amazing to get a hand on that document, or to have somebody, get a hand on a picture of that document that they have to sign off that says you will not use the word Jesus Christ while you're working on these premises? That would be really interesting. Again, very few people have stated that this is the case. Maybe it's a hoax. Maybe not. I'm not one to tell, but I haven't seen it come up from other individuals. So I don't know. I really don't know. I guess more will have to be done in the way of research. However, this Mr. Joe Jordan seems to have done a lot of research on this particular case, and these individuals who were in the midst of an alien abduction did use the word and the name Jesus, Jesus or Jesus Christ, and these alien abductions immediately stopped. I'm sure that many people would probably try to stop these events from occurring if they could. It seems like the technology that aliens have would stop you from being able to say anything. They seem most of the time to put you in a complete trance and complete freeze so that you can't do anything anyway. I wonder if you had the capability to say the name Jesus Christ, that it would have a humongous difference in some of these particular events. I don't know, but it's interesting to talk about and interesting to think about. So I'll try to do some more research, try to bring it up and see what we can find, and we'll go from there. But what do you think? I'll try to turn on the comments section so you guys can have your say. Love to hear what you guys have to think, and we'll continue the research. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Always have that white light around you, that protective white light.
Okay, so like I said, it was the first time I listened to it. I was interested in it because of the information that well, it didn't the information that validated the things that we've been saying for months, things that John was saying when we first met him. We know that the elite, or I don't even know what other word to call them, the people pulling the strings. We know that this has been something that has been planned for since the fall. I mean, that's the reason why Lucifer and a third of the angels fell, was because, they were turning against God. So when they came down here, that was their main goal. That was what they wanted to do, to defile God's creation. It doesn't matter, what it is, the planet, uh, humanity, whatever it is, they were going to destroy. We saw this in the Tower of Babel when Nimrod built that. That was the main reason for it. The main reason for it was they were going to go up on this tower and they were going to have a war with God and they were going to win. So, I mean, this has been something, a reoccurring thought process that they've been having since the fall. So it makes perfect sense that they would be trying to do these things. They do have fallen angel technology. They do have, now they've got CERN, opening up the veil between the dimensions. We have quantum computers, which they can't even explain quantum computers and how they work. They just know that they're getting information from other places, but they don't understand why. If you don't know about quantum computers or quantum physics, it's something that it's really interesting. I've been looking into it for a couple of years, and it's quite confusing, but you got to understand that the quantum physics, it manifests on multiple dimensions. So if you don't understand the binary computer codes of the ones and zeros, I would start there. Start there, learn the binary code, learn how that is, how a regular computer works, and then go on to the quantum computers, and you will see the difference, and you will see how it's like mind blowing, like crazy. So this is something that it's been an ongoing, that they've been planning. So to hear them say that they're still planning it, definitely is interesting. So, all right, like I said, that was a follow up to last night's show. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. I don't know when I'll be back. Not sure. But until next time, remember, eyes open, no fear.